Welcome to Beyond the Bubble podcast, featuring monthly talks and updates on Viking men's basketball, where they're at and what they're up to.
Well, welcome to episode 2 for the Beyond the Bubble podcast. Our guest today is Ty Terry. Big name around here. A lot of people, honestly, when I started this Beyond the Bubble podcast, your name came up a lot, just to let you know of, say, hey, this is the guy that you have to have in studio to interview. And I'm like, I don't interview, we just sit down and talk. But I'm very grateful for Ty to be here today. He's a big name in Valley City. Obviously, just came back to Valley City this last year as the high school Highliner basketball coach. A lot of people are excited about that, still excited about that. And we're very grateful to have him here today. Ty, it's cold outside.
Ooh, yes, sir, it is.
Isn't it? I got in my truck. It's -8 degrees in the garage this morning. And hey, this is why we play indoor sports, right?
Absolutely.
I get in that talk with my AD all the time. He was the football coach here, Coach Mack, and I said he's always like in the fall. They're always like, yeah, I'm like getting kind of ready and all that stuff and making sure the boiler is on in the bubble so that we have it nice and warm. He's walking out into like 20 degrees practice with wind, and I go, this is why we play indoor sports.
Yes, I'd rather be indoors right now than playing outside for sure.
Right. So, Ty, we're going to go through a bunch of things, just kind of like your story. You've got a lot of stuff to talk about, and we only have a short amount of time to do those things, but there is so many things in regards to basketball that you've either done for Valley City State or in Minnesota, Valley City High School, all kinds of things. And I just don't know where to start. But where I think the best question to get this going is tell me about your high school / middle school, how you got involved in basketball.
Oh, man. So first thing I want to say, I'm just really humbled and honored for you guys to have me here. So thank you so much for having me here.
We're humbled to have you here, man.
And for my name to come up all the time for this is really awesome. I wouldn't expect that, but thank you. So the crazy thing how I got started in basketball, man, is just back in the day when basketball in Valley City was just really huge, man. So just growing up, man, my dad would always take us to the high school basketball games here, and I was just like, man, I got to be a part of this. So like 5 years old, jumped in, we're playing at the rec all the time, and just remember walking home with my dad in the cold, but it didn't feel cold because I had so much fun, right? But honestly, my dad, when I was younger in Mississippi, I helped him coach when I was like 12 years old, right?
Okay.
And he just let me be assistant coach, and then one day he had a couple teams. He was like, hey, how about you take this team and you could coach them? So I started coaching at 13 years old. So ever since then, I just knew that was my calling, I just loved it. So that's basically how I got into coaching, man. And then since then, when I go to YMCAs or anything like that, even when I was like, 15, 16 years old, I see younger kids, I'd be like, hey, I just go work with them, just say, you maybe want to work on this or this or this. And it just was something natural for me. So ever since then, I just kind of knew since I was 13 I wanted to be a coach.
Wow, that's awesome, man. I kind of went through similar things. Like after college, I got out of it just to see if basketball was something I still wanted to do. And I think I was walking out of my last real estate license test, and I got a phone call from an old assistant coach of mine and saying, hey, do you want a graduate assistant job? And I'm like, I didn't even think twice because I was like out for like 10 months, and I'm like, I'm back in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep,
once it leaves your life for a little bit, you just don't know how to function at certain times, right?
Yep, I agree.
So Mississippi, right? Is that where you're originally from, Ty?
Oh, no, I was born in Fargo, North Dakota.
You were born in Fargo?
Yep, and I lived in Valley City till I was in like 3rd or 4th grade. Then I moved to Mississippi.
Okay.
And I lived in Mississippi from 4th grade to 10th grade.
Okay.
And I would just say, hey, nothing against Mississippi, but that was probably the worst 6 years of my life.
Really?
Yes, it was just terrible, man. Like, they're just way behind on times. You know what I mean? Education was terrible. They still use derogatory words and stuff like that. Coaches and principals or whatever call you that. So my parents were like, hey, if we can get you back up to North Dakota, let's do it. My brother was going to college here at Valley City State.
Okay.
So my parents were like, hey, you got aunties up there. We'll just send you guys up there for an opportunity to go to college and try to get a scholarship. So when I got that opportunity, I was like, man, the only thing that sucked, I came a year too late to play with Boshi. So I didn't get to play with him, man.
With Jeff?
Yeah, that might have helped my recruitment a little bit, because all the costs, but that's cool, man. It was awesome because coming up here, I got to play with basketball with guys I grew up with. So, it was kind of a little different to kind of adapt to him because, we haven't seen him play with each other for a couple of years, several years. So, but when we got our chemistry back, we made state both my junior and senior year. So it was pretty cool, man.
I did. I was watching your video. We're going to show your website here in a little bit, but there's an awesome video on there. It just kind of talks about everything we're kind of talking about in regards to your story and all those things and your struggles and your successes.
Yeah.
And I thought that was awesome. It just opened my eyes to a lot of things, like your experience in Mississippi. A lot of people around here would probably say, "Hey, very cool. You get to go to Mississippi. It's warmer, right, or something like that." And then you sit and come out and say, "Worst 6 years of my life."
Absolutely.
Those are the things that people need to hear because, this area, people sit here and go weather or whatever it might be and all that stuff. But then people like you who go, "Hey, you don't know how lucky you have it."
Absolutely, man. It's incredible to be in North Dakota, man. These people are lovely here. They're friendly here. You go to other different places. Even when you go to Minnesota, they say that's the Minnesota nice, right?
Minnesota nice,
and I'm
right?
like, whoa, are you sure about that?
I have had that argument right now, Ty, with people. I'm like, I'm from Minnesota, southern Minnesota.
Yep.
Deep into it, all those things. My wife's from Minnesota, and we have that Minnesota nice, hey, everybody says hi to each other and everything. And then you come to North Dakota, and everybody actually waves at each other.
Absolutely. It's crazy, isn't it?
I'm like, they take it to another level here in North Dakota, man. And I don't know why they don't deserve that same respect and stuff. But,
I agree. I agree. Yes, sir.
Well, that's awesome. We're glad to have you here. Your experiences and all those things. So let's go back to the Highliner experience then.
Okay.
You work for the Highliners now.
Yeah.
We got to make sure we talk about Valley City High School and how good it is for that. I mean,
absolutely.
Are your superintendent, Mr. Johnson? I'm trying to give him some pub here. But let's talk about that, and let's just talk about your playing days when you came back from Mississippi.
Okay.
Who was your head coach at that time?
It was Bob Succo.
It was Bob Succo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man.
You guys still stay in touch at
Oh,
all?
man, he's a big-time role model for me, man. Right when he knew that I was even interviewing for the job, he groomed me for the interview.
Mm-hmm.
He just set me up for success. And then he just telling me, Ty, it's going to be a process. You're not going to go in there. You're not going to just win every game. You're not going to flip it and just do what you think you're probably going to do. He's like, hey, you got to make sure the kids know what's going on. And then he just laid it out for me. So, there's bumps in the road, and I just go back to what he's told me, and it's been on point.
Good. So let's go to your playing days then. What do you remember most about playing for Valley City High School?
Man, I just remember we went through a lot of adversity. You know what I mean? And I just remember even through our adversity, all of our guys were just like, hey, all we got to do is stick with this and get hot at the right time. At the right time. And our coach kept telling us, like, guys, it's defense. When you guys get the defense, or you guys are all talented offense, it'll come to you guys. And I just remember it came together at the right time. And I remember we knocked off some really good teams our junior year. And they're probably the teams that should have probably been in state, but we ended up being the guys that made it to state, even though we got dominated pretty bad in the first couple rounds, but we made it there, though.
Hey, you have one up on me. I never made it to state in my high school basketball career, and I was always one game short.
Oh man,
that's
gotta be tough, man.
Like you have what did you get the T-shirts and all those types of things, right?
Yeah, we got the cool stuff.
I think they had some printed one year that we were playing,
man.
and I'm like, okay, yeah. It still burns me. But was the conference the same back then? Is the same level and all that stuff as you guys are currently playing in?
Man, I would say there's some really talented guys now in the conference, but I think it was just as good at that time. And Jamestown was in our conference too, so Jamestown brought a lot of rivalry for us, but. Man, we had some dudes back then too, though. Because we had John Godfrey, 7-footer. So we had some. South was really stacked back then because South was like they were like the Davies back then. They had all the Southern Fargo guys, and then West Fargo was pretty tough back then too. So North, they had a couple of Mr. Basketballs in a row, but I mean, Tommy Likas and Koning, they both Koning went play D1, and Likas got Mr. Basketball. There were some tough teams, man. So I'd say the talent was there too.
Let's talk about Mr. Basketball. Weren't you a Mr. Basketball?
Yeah, I was.
Okay. Like, hey, man, we got to talk about that too. Okay, so what year exactly were you Mr. Basketball in North Dakota?
2000.
2000.
Yep.
Okay, so 2000. So describe that experience in regards to you're working up, you've had this great year and all those things, and then you are up for Mr. Basketball in North Dakota, right? Did they ever tell you that you were up for the award or anything? How did that work?
Man, it was crazy because I just remember nobody's ever told me I had a chance at Mr. Basketball award. I didn't think I would either, but then all of a sudden Coach Succo was like, hey, it was like one game left. It was like the third or fourth place game at state, and he was like, Ty, you just got to put on a show today. He was like, I'm just gonna let you go. You got the green light to do whatever you got. Just show these guys that you're the Mr. Basketball candidate. I'm like, Mr. Basketball candidate? He's like, yeah, you can show me you're the player of the year. And I was like, all right. So then I went and had 31 points against Devils Lake in that 34th place game, and we actually lost that game. So I was like, I probably won't get it. Next thing I know, they said, hey, you're a candidate. You need to come up for the award or whatever. And I looked at the guys I was with. I was like, there's no way I'm getting it over Godfrey, Badkey, and Robert Lawrence and all these guys, man. I'm like, no way. They said my name. I was like, whoa, this is crazy, So I was really shocked that I won it. And to this day, I really shocked that I really won it.
Oh, don't be too humble, man. Okay, like I mean, you had to do some really good work to get that award, and I know the people around here still talk to you about you to this day about how good you were, and that's. To get that award, I mean that you're one in a lot, and you. Again, I wish I would have been able to watch, but I think we were playing around the same time. So you said 2000?
Yep.
I graduated in 2002 from high school.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So you were in 2000?
Yep.
Okay,
yep.
Yeah, so you were two better. Yeah, so if we were to play, you would have showed me a show because I would have been a sophomore playing against a Mr. Basketball, and I can just see how that matchup would have went.
Probably not so much, man. I wasn't too much of a shooter or anything, man. The only way you catch me shooting is if the game got in the clutch and I needed to take over a little bit. That's the only time I really would, try to shoot a lot.
Yeah, so Michael Jordan-esque.
I wouldn't say that much, but if we're going to put it in anybody, I'd probably say it's like a Chris Paulish.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah.
And I did see some of the highlights on your website and all those things, and I'm like, I can see the resemblance, Chris Paul and you. But that's good stuff. So, really good high school career. Really, you stood out. You did a lot of good things. Where did you go from there?
Oh, man, right away, I went to University of Texas, San Antonio.
Yep.
And it was, it's crazy because, you always want to go to the big schools and everything like that. It was between them and, like, Kansas State at the end. Like, the last two schools, I know I probably should say UND because I committed to them twice. But the funny thing is like it was just a perfect fit at UTSA, man. They had a NBA player there, Devin Brown.
Okay.
They had some other guys transferring from other big schools like Tulsa and some Texas and all these schools. So I was like, man, this is a perfect fit. They said all we need is a point guard and get them the ball. I was like, that's what I can do best. You know what I mean? So I went there, and then in my first year, and then life hit me, man. My son Tyrell was born.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I saw him for the first time, and I was like, this is too tough to be. Down across the country, and and she just telling me all the stuff he's doing, and I'm like, man, this is tough. So I got homesick, and I was like, all right, coach, I don't think I could do it anymore. He's like, Ty, you can move your fiance down here, whatever. I just couldn't do it, man. I was like, I go back to North Dakota where I feel comfortable and raise him up there, and then came back here and transferred back to the NDSU.
Okay.
And then
who Tim Miles?
No, actually, I came back to play for McDermott.
McDermott. Okay.
McDermott, and the assistant coach was Ben Jacobson. So Ben Jacobson was the guy who actually got me here. He's the head coach now at UNI.
And then McDermott is at Creighton, right?
Yep. So
big names.
Those are the guys that got me back here, and I was like, man, that's perfect fit. Me and Jacobson been knowing each other because he got me to commit to UND as a junior. Yeah. So we had a connection for a while, man. So I thought I was going to play at NDSU, and then all of a sudden they left. They're like, hey, you got to come with us to UNI. I'm like, man, I don't want to sit out another year, and I don't want to have to deal with my fiance and my son trying to find out how they're going to go to school there because she had a specific thing she was going for in physical therapy and stuff. So we had to find a school for that, right? Yeah. So that was kind of tough in that too. So, man, I was like, all right, let's just stay in North Dakota where we know what we can do and how we can make this work. And then Tim Miles took over, and he kind of said, Ty, I got a good fit for you and everything. And he's like, you recruit Travis Kraft when you guys can come back together. And I was like, hey, that's a good idea, So Travis Kraft came back, and then we felt like we would have a good thing coming at NDSU. And,
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and we just had Kelvin Kraft on our podcast for the first episode, and we talked about Travis a lot because Travis went originally to South Carolina. He was a Gamecock, and then he came back. So it's a kind of interesting, like how all these guys kind of came back to North Dakota and were kind of starting to play at NDSU and do those certain things. So very cool. And I know Travis is on your website also. He does a little bit of interview for your video there too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So me and Travis go way back, man. We grew together in college, man. It was like, I don't know, man. He was there with me, like when I brought my son in the house. He'd help me watch him and stuff, play basketball with him. So me and Travis go way back, man.
Cool, very cool. So NDSU, How long were you there?
I was there for 2 years.
2 years?
2 years, yep.
So then NDSU, that didn't work out the way you wanted it to either. That's okay. It's just then you chose Valley City State?
Yeah, so it was kind of weird, man, because I at that time, I just knew I wanted to be a coach, right? You know, I was like, man, it's just, I talked to Miles, like, hey, I know my playing career wasn't what it should have been here, and I know I could probably keep playing for 2 more years and accomplish some things, but I think I really want to coach, and maybe I just, I was like, I got a full scholarship academically, so I was like, man, you could give my athletic scholarship a better player, and he was like, what? I'm like, I really want to make this sacrifice, and I just want to coach, be a student coach, and just get all the experience, and then right when it's time for me to graduate, I have a job. He was like, I like your idea, but you're too good of a player to just quit basketball, dude. He's like, you go to Valley City State, go to Mayville, go to Jamestown, go to one of these NAIA schools, finish your career up. I got a job for you, whatever. And I'm like, all right, cool. So talked to the coach at Valley City, and he was like, oh yeah, I got a spot for you, man. And
yeah,
I was
would.
Like, so I was like, perfect, So I ended up driving down to Valley City like every Tuesday and Thursday, after the season was over, and play with the guys, and just try to get as much chemistry with the guys as I could after that season, and then played 2 years at Valley. I thought it was some good years. I thought my senior year we could have been a lot better, but I think what happened was we had a really good start, but then teams started scouting us, and then some of our role players, we were like freshmen and stuff, so it was kind of tough for us to make that quick adjustments because we had a lot of talent my senior year.
Yeah. Who was your coach?
Adam Duhan.
It was Duhan.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, I've heard a lot about the talent level in that group that's your senior year or your second year, right? Your second year.
Yeah.
I heard a lot about that team. And who was the team to beat in the conference when you were playing here?
Oh, man, it's crazy because it was Mayville. We swept them.
It's kind of the same right now.
And we swept them.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was like, how do we sweep them and then we lose to everybody else pretty much,
It just makes you wonder, right?
Yeah.
You're like, opportunities missed or whatever it might be. And we constantly do that at our level with what we're going through right now. We just beat the number 1 team in the conference. And then, we've been up and down. We're 4-1 in the last 5. But we've been like, we started off just kind of like doing this, and then we're kind of doing this. And now, as a coach, you're like, how do we continue to do this and stay on that path, because we just don't want to take that next dip, or you just want to stay in playing your best basketball at this time of year.
Yeah.
So.
Well, hey, at least you guys are gelling at the right time.
We're trying to.
Yeah.
We're trying to, and our guys have been playing hard and doing the right things, and that's all I can ask for. And as long as it's easier to coach when they're doing those things, right?
Absolutely.
Because you get frustrated when you're sitting there and you're watching, and like, God, look at our potential if we could just do these little things correct, right? And then, but like, I've been a part of teams too where we do all the little things, but we still can't win, and all that type of stuff. This group has been kind of like, God, if we just do the little things just a little bit better, we have so much potential. And that can be really frustrating as a coach. Now they are slowly getting to doing all those little things correctly, and now good things are starting to happen. But you just got to make sure that those bad habits just don't come back. And it's just like, you want to fly swat or something. Like, no, stay over here. Good stuff. So, so did you finish at Valley City State in terms of your career?
Yeah, I finished at Valley City State. Yep.
Okay, and then after Valley City State, what would you do then?
Oh man, it was crazy. So I thought I could play a little pro basketball, so I went and played in the IBL for the Des Moines Heat. And it was crazy because the tryout went really, really, really well for me, right? Yeah. So I was like, hey, maybe I could play pro ball. So I went and played on the team and had really good 2 games. First 2 games were really good because I got to play the 6-man. I was a 6-man, the first guard off the bench. First game I had 19, second game I had 17, and then all of a sudden our team was so good that all of our post players got jobs overseas or in the G League. So or that back then was the D League, but. So then I was the biggest guard, so I ended up having to play the post. That's not good, man. So I was guarding 6'8" dudes that were trying to get pro contracts, so I was getting dunked on, elbowed in the mouth. So my motivation to playing pro ball went away right away. And then the thing that would put the stamp on it was so me and a couple of my buddies had a trial with the Dakota Wizards.
Okay.
And we would go there, and my buddy, he's probably like 5'9". He played ball here. Is Paul Henderson.
Okay. He
gets a second day tryout, and I'm like, all right, cool. Man, they had me playing the post in trials for the Dakota Wizards, man. I'm like, what is going on? I was like, what? And I asked the coach because the coach was the old coach for the Baylor that got in trouble.
Oh.
I can't think of his name right now, but
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
yeah.
Though.
So I didn't really have that big of a, I didn't have that. I'm not gonna say disrespect for him or anything, but I was
Right.
just like, man, just kind of the situation he had with Baylor. I was like, so I'm questioning him a little bit, like, dude, why you have me playing a post? He's looking at me like, just do what I asked you to do. I'm like, I'm not a post player, And then so at the end of the tryouts, I go coast to coast and I dunk it. And he goes, where was that the whole time, Terry? I'm like, if you had me playing guard, maybe you would have saw that.
Right.
But no, that after I was playing post and try, I was like, man, I'm done playing pro ball. It's time to go find a job. So I didn't even go try to find a coaching job or anything. I just tried to find a job. I ended up working at jobs at like Microsoft and stuff like that.
Okay.
And just like you said, you get away from it for a little bit, and I just like, man,
it's tough.
I'm like, man, these paychecks are pretty decent though, but man, I'm still not happy though.
Right?
You know what I mean? And
it's weird, isn't it?
It was really weird. And my wife was just like, what's your deal? I'm like, she's like, we're doing pretty good. I'm like, man, just don't have it, And then started doing like, I started coaching my son 3rd and 4th grade. He finally stopped hockey and started playing basketball.
Thank God. Right?
Yeah. So man, trust me. So. And then I started coaching him a little bit, and I got the hunger back, man. And then all of a sudden, I was in Elk River, Minnesota, and this 9th grade team said, "Hey, man, will you please coach our kids in AAU?" And I'm like, "Heck yeah, man!" And then after that, it was like, boom, it just clicked. So I was like, started Mr. Basketball Academy, and then it was like, yes, now I feel like I'm doing what I want to do.
Well, that's awesome, man. I'm glad you found it.
Yeah.
Certain people don't.
Yeah.
They just stay in that rut and all their life and say, well, the money's good.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And I tell you, I mean, I was making good money out of college there for a little bit and all those things, and then, but I just, like you said, just wasn't happy, and I'm like, it's not worth it.
Nope.
I'd rather be struggling for money a little bit here and there and be happy than having too much and just miserable. I mean, I know people might think I'm nuts, but it just matters.
I agree with you 100%.
Family, right?
Yes.
Family number one. And if they're happy, I'm happy, and we can just go from there.
Yep,
so.
absolutely, man.
Now, I don't know, Mitchell, if you want to pull up my computer here, but I do have to give you some love in regards to records.
Man.
You were here 2 years now, and you still have records here. That's pretty good, Ty. And I know you're a humble guy and everything, but the first one that I noticed was the free throws, right? Free throws. I think you have the most in a single game, but here, I got to make sure I find this stuff here. And I was just seeing it before we got on the air here. Here's one. Free throws made on 10/30/04. 04 though. Is that was your last year here?
No, 05 was my last year.
Oh, so this was your first year here.
Yep.
And you had 14 in a game. 14 made free throws in a game. So you must have, I hope maybe you were 14 of 14. That doesn't say, but that was against Great Falls. So you must have just been going to the rim all day.
Man, actually that game must have been 04. That was my that was the first game our senior year. I remember that. Yep. I remember that game. And yes, I was definitely going to the basket a lot that game.
It looks like it, man. Yep. You get at least 14. You made 14. Yep. The weird thing about like Kevin Anderson, who played for the Chicago Bulls, he's ahead of you. John Raquel against Ogallala. Great Falls is probably a better basketball team than Ogallala. No offense to him. And then Ike Ermer set it in 53 at 17 against. Geez. Here's the one against Ellendale. So that's really good stuff from them. But you did against Great Falls, which is at that time a prominent NAIA basketball team. So I wanted to give you some love in regards to that.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Free throws attempted. So here's another one. So that's the same game, 16. So you were 14 of 16 that game.
Not bad.
Yeah, well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good, man. I know we found another one in here that was assists, wasn't it?
Oh, yep.
Assists, and you were talking about earlier Chris Paul-ish, right? So I'm guessing this is kind of what you took home with you as being a high assist guy. You liked that, right?
Yeah, so I'm not trying to go way back, but my mentality came from when I was younger, man. Is like I got older brothers, right? And then my dad was a coach, so he was always like, man, get the ball to your brother, man. Get your ball to your brother. And this other guy was on our team named Rico, and we had a couple other dudes on our team. So my dad was always like, hey, get the ball to them, and you get out the way. So
Right.
I've always been that guy that like, okay, if I got some shooters around me, I'm gonna make you look really pretty, man. And make you look really good. So that's always been my mentality, man. And just when it's time to take over, I made sure I could be able to score.
Oh, well, hey, I would love playing with you. I can tell you that because I was the guy that ran off screens.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I'd get 2 screens a deal, and then I would just be doing this number, and I would love you.
Oh, man. And if you were hot, I would dribble until I could give you a handoff and just set a screen for you and get you open, man.
And, you see, and those things matter.
Oh, it do. It does. It does.
And the thing that certain players don't understand, we're sitting here talking about records right now, and we're not talking about points per game or anything. We're talking about assists.
Yeah.
And that's huge. And you broke here, so I got it up here, and you were number 11 in 04-05. You said you broke the 100 mark at 102 assists in a year. That's really impressive.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, that's really impressive. And then in you were number 13 also, and you got right at 100 in 03-04. So your first year you were at 03-04, improved it by 2 going into your last year here. And yeah, so you broke the 100 mark both years that you were here.
Oh, cool.
So if you were here 4 years, you would probably be the all-time assist record leader.
Darn it, man.
No, but again, that's just I like to talk about those types of things because it shows your average. Yeah. I don't go, 4 years you were here and all this stuff, but to have the average per year, that means that you were a consistent basketball player and with what you did, and that's huge, man. I don't know if I saw anything else here, but I don't want to sell you short, so I'm just going to browse here for a little bit. But talk about some of your teammates, man. Like, were there?
Oh, man.
Who do you remember here?
Oh, man, I had some great teammates, man. A couple guys that stood out to most is Claybo.
Okay.
Me and Claybo had a really good connection,
he still
man.
Lives here, doesn't he?
Yeah, me and his wife teach together at the Valley City High School.
Okay.
She's teaches physical therapy.
Think he'd want to come on and sit down
science.
with me?
Oh, he got to, man. Tell him I said he has to.
Okay.
Yeah, he has to, man.
Hey, it's coming. Okay. Warning him if he listens, you're going to get a little phone message from Coach Montgomery. So.
Yeah, so, Claybo, me and him had a really good connection. And then some of the guys that helped recruit here, some of the younger guys, Lindahl and Brady Ernst, those guys came on really big time. And then, Brandon Beta, man, that dude was automatic, man. I think he shot like 65% from the field.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was just, and
that's insane.
And he was like a 6'2" post player, man.
That's even more insane.
You know what I mean? Like he was just so efficient, man. I think on the roster we had him like at 6'4", but I think he was pretty much like 6'2".
Really?
You know, to say that quietly, but I think he was like 6'2", but he was so efficient, man. And then and then my first year we had like what's his name? I can't even think of his name right now, but he was a shooter from he went to the same high school as my wife. So
okay.
I can't think of his name right now.
That's okay.
But yeah, he was a dead-eye shooter. So I had a lot of help when I was here to get those assists for sure.
Great. Well, and I did find it. Assists, okay? You're in the top 10. You're at number 8. At 202. Obviously, we do the math, right? And we talked about it, 04-05. So the leader, all-time assist leader is Dave Hendrickson at 404.
Okay.
Or 407. So you would have been, if you were all 4 years, I could sit there and say you would have been right there.
Okay.
But yeah, you're in the top 8 in 2 years at 202, which is pretty impressive. And that, again, this shows you, your willingness to be a team basketball player, and that's great stuff. And that's why you're coaching now.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
you understand it.
Yep.
Like you understand how important everybody is on the floor.
Absolutely.
And that's awesome stuff.
Yep.
I also want to make sure, you've got to get back to teaching today.
Yes, sir.
The kids are going to be waiting for you, nipping at your ankles, right? But I want to make sure that I show your MrBasketballAcademy.com, right?
Okay. No, yep.
Really good stuff on there. I'm not going to sit here and discuss all of it, but if you do have a chance and you do go to this website, I highly recommend everybody to watch that video at the end. I really do. That's big stuff. That's really good stuff, and it shows that what you've gone through and how basketball can affect your life.
Yeah.
The North Dakota roots, the ties to North Dakota. You've got really big things, big names in regards to your life in regards to basketball. We just talked about McDermott. We talked about Jacobson, Miles, all those guys. Your son, Ty, who just recently retired from the NBA. But that's a wonderful story, and that's for other people to talk about and all those things. But the one thing that's impressed me the most about you, Ty, is just your love to help people in regards to basketball, or in general. Like you see somebody struggling, those are big things. And if you want to talk about any of that, go ahead.
Yeah, man. It's weird because I feel like I got to pay it back. Because I'm just telling you, I came up here to North Dakota in a situation that I needed a lot of help, and if I didn't have the help of this community, man, I don't know where I'd be. So I feel like to come back to this community and give it all the help that I can, that's just what I feel like I need to do, right? But honestly though is like I got a kid living with me right now that I brought back from Minnesota.
Okay.
He's a sophomore right now. He's on the JV team.
Okay.
I felt like he was a kid that I could help out, give him a situation just like me. You know what I mean? Like I felt like if he just got some direction in his life and an opportunity, he might be able to seize it. So we're just working with him right now, coming up here in North Dakota, and hopefully he gets the same situation I did.
That's great stuff. That's great stuff, man. Yeah, and then in your website, I know you offer a lot of camps in the summer, and what do you do it all year long?
All year long, man.
All year long. Yeah. So, highlighter community, surrounding communities, there's always opportunities right now to play basketball in Valley City.
Yeah.
Is your wife involved with that too?
She's involved with everything, man.
Does she help run it and stuff?
Man, she helps run it. She's actually even in our high school basketball practices, man. So she's all about ball, man.
Good.
Yeah.
And when I watched her, and this is again, and I will end with this a little bit, Ty. But when I was watching your video, she said a couple cool things about it. It's like when you're your best, you're helping people. I think that was her quote in there. Yeah. That was a big time quote for me when I was watching your video, and I'm just like, God, that's awesome stuff. Yeah. And to have somebody alongside you that can push you in that right direction and do those things, that's something to hold on to. So, props to her, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Props to her. Props to you. Thanks for coming to Valley City.
I appreciate that, man.
Thanks for choosing to come back and coach our young youth. And I see good things on in the horizon. So
I appreciate that, man. That means a lot to me.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you want to talk about or anything before I let you get back to work?
Hey, man, I just want to see you guys finish the season out strong, man. It was awesome. Like I want to thank you very much for the hospitality of having our high school team come to the game, man. They had a blast, man. That was
anytime.
It was an awesome game. I wish you guys would have had the result that you wanted, but that was. I'm not supposed to say this, but I think you guys won that game if those refs would have made some good calls. But hey, I didn't say that, though.
No, hey, that's basketball, and I try to tell our guys that. He said you can't put it in the refs' hands. You got to put it in your own.
True.
And
that's true.
We missed some layups at the end of that game. This against Viterbo we're talking about. And I think we're gonna get them. I do too. I think our guys are ready to, and I think we're gonna make a push here at the end.
Oh, for sure. You guys look really good, man. You done a really good job with those guys.
I appreciate it. And so it's mostly them. So that's what I always say. The guys, they've been working really hard since September, and that's a long year. And to be in January and still competitive and still pushing for the right things and still being part of a team, that's hard to do. And they're still doing it. So I'm proud of them in regards to that.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
All right, Mitchell, thank you. And Austin, right? And then our other guy, this is a great name, Bear.
Love it.
Bear, thank you guys for your help today. The episode will be getting out soon. And Ty, we wish you the best the rest of the year, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much. Thank you for having me.
Standing and burning, images made for earning. Who are they really serving? I want big smoke. Wolfing on the net, but up in person, they got strep throat. Hit and make a lot of threats, but they don't never step though. Yeah, I'm a believer, by my dollars feel like Creflo. They gon' say that I